Chances are you know of Giada De Laurentiis. Search in your mental index of rock and roll queens, and you will not find one like Stevie Nicks. That is, at least, if you love Italian food and have your finger on the pulse of pop culture zeitgeist. This musical goddess of all things ethereal, who most recently made history as the first female artist to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame twice, has clearly set the bar in the music industry. From her outrageously cool outfits to her bewitching lyrics about love, life, gypsies, and even Greta Garbo, Nicks has a boho energy all of her own making. The longtime Food Network star has been cooking up pasta, pizza, and parmesan recipes for years on the popular channel, allowing viewers to learn about her, her family, and her culture. That's in addition to the other endeavors she's embarked on over the years, which has made her one of the most popular celebrity chefs out there. But De Laurentiis wasn't born in the food television spotlight, bursting with ambition to become a celebrity. And she's willing to sweep her fans up and take them with her as she performs her own emotional ballet on stage. What is the cost of becoming a whimsical and unapologetic yet powerful diva of the music world? If you're Stevie Nicks, the cost can be quite painful at times. Rather, De Laurentiis' story begins half a world away, in a home filled with family, food, and fame of a different sort. For nearly 50 years, the artist has worn her heart on her sleeve for all to see, balancing her career with her relationships as the world watches eagerly. That's where the young chef discovered both her love of food and her ambition to blaze her own trail. So, how has De Laurentiis changed from a young girl in Europe to a Food Network empress? And in what ways has she stayed true to her deeply rooted traditions? Read on to witness the stunning transformation of Giada De Laurentiis. Giada De Laurentiis was born to a well-to-do Italian family born Rome on August 22, 1970. Giada De Laurentiis didn't exactly descend from food television royalty, but she was born into a high-profile Italian family. Her grandfather was the famed Italian movie mogul Dino De Laurentiis, who produced countless films over the course of his career, as noted by IMDb. But fear not for Nicks, who can't be counted among the faint-hearted. She's weathered everything the universe has thrown at her, all the while willingly sharing her triumphs and sacrifices with her fans. Here's an intimate look into how Stevie Nicks has climbed her own enchanted ladder to the top. Stevie Nicks was born to perform. The tour of Stevie Nicks's life begins in Phoenix, Arizona. According to biography, her parents were actress Veronica De Laurentiis and actor-producer Alex De Benedetti. By all accounts, Giada De Laurentiis' early years in Italy were happy and filled with lots of family and fun. It was 1948 when Stephanie Lynn Nicks came into the world. Her parents, Barbara and Jess, were typical young newlyweds. He was a corporate executive, and she was a homemaker, according to biography. But despite the fact that the De Laurentiis clan was a famous film family, Giada wasn't exactly star-struck or curious about what put their family on the map. "I wasn't looking to get into TV," she recalled in an interview with Food and Wine. "My family was in the movie business, so I was never interested in that world." Clearly from the start, Giada De Laurentiis was determined to march to the beat of her own drum. Giada De Laurentiis was tormented by her classmates. Giada De Laurentiis is the first person to admit that she has a charmed life thanks to the incredible opportunities she's been given. Nicks' grandpa, Aaron Nicks, was an aspiring country music singer who taught her to sing at the age of 4, built a guitar for her, and began taking her with him to local music gigs. But that doesn't mean she hasn't faced adversity in her life. No, she's certainly endured some hardships. Ultimate Classic Rock says that following a successful tap dance performance in the 6th grade, Nicks knew she wanted to be a performer. There was much in store for Stevie Nicks as she attended Menlo Atherton High School. There was a boy, Lindsey Buckingham, a high school classmate, was singing at a party Nicks went to in 1966, per MTV. This was especially the case when she first moved to the United States at the age of 7. On a whim, Nicks brazenly burst into harmony with him, as Buckingham played. The two didn't see each other again for 2 years until Buckingham called out of the blue and asked Nicks to join his band. "I came here from Italy in the 70s and didn't speak a word of English, so the kids at school tormented me," she confessed to Redbook. The group was called Fritz, and Nicks was a welcome addition. "Truly, it was horrifying the names they called me, and the teachers never really did a thing to stop it." That sounds horrible. Fortunately De Laurentiis had a secret weapon, which was preparing and cooking delicious foods. It helped me build my ego and even start to get acceptance at school," she continued. She also fell in love with Buckingham, and the duo remained together as Fritz opened for Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, and Santana before breaking up in 1971. Nicks and Buckingham, however, remained together and formed their own band, Buckingham Nicks. Nicks gives in to Buckingham's pressure within 2 years. Buckingham Nicks was signed by Polydor Records. Factinate says, "I'd bring things to class that I'd cooked at home, and my classmates were like, 'Wow. This is amazing,' and that girl with the funny name cooked it." Never underestimate the unifying power of food. Giada De Laurentiis became interested in cooking professionally at a young age. While Giada De Laurentiis loved cooking and eating from the start, it was when she became a tween that she started to want to make a career out of her passion. Their debut, self-titled album came out in 1973 and went largely unnoticed, per Biography. Except for one thing, the couple appeared nude from the waist up. Fleetwood Mac News, quoting from a 2014 eBay listing of images from the photo shoot, says it was the first time a music duo appeared on the cover of their LP topless. But there was more to the story. Much of that was because her grandfather, whose parents had a pasta factory back in Italy, brought that entrepreneurial spirit stateside. After he became a movie producer, he opened up De Laurentiis food stores, one in Los Angeles and one in New York, the Star told Time magazine. In his biography Gold Dust Woman, the biography of Stevie Nicks, author Stephen Davis explains that after Nicks demurred when asked to take off her blouse, the abusive Buckingham threw a fit. "I was 12, and I would go there after school. That was when and where De Laurentiis truly began to fall in love with the food scene that existed outside of her and her family's homes. It was a gourmet grocery store that also had a kitchen and served food," she continued. "This is art," he had said. Nicks gave in, hiding the album and refusing to show it to her father. It was not the first or last time she would give in to Buckingham. Following the virtual failure of the album, the couple struggled financially. "I loved being in the kitchen, watching the customers come in and talk about what they liked and didn't like." While De Laurentiis' grandfather closed the stores after only 2 years, those memories made a lasting impact on her. Giada De Laurentiis put herself through college. Giada De Laurentiis became the first member of her family to attend college and, in 1996, she graduated with a degree in anthropology, according to Biography. Buckingham continued working on his music, but Nicks worked at a variety of jobs to keep the couple afloat, including dental assistant, maid, and waitress. In 1994, Nicks told the Islandeer, via in her own words, "I worked at the Copper Penny, Clementines and Bob's Big Boy. I supported Lindsay and I for years." Buckingham Nicks joins Fleetwood Mac in 1975. Stevie Nicks and Lindsay Buckingham finally got their due. They were asked to join Fleetwood Mac. Nicks would later tell NPR about Mick Fleetwood calling the couple on New Year's Eve and asking them to dinner. But they were already working on their second album, and Buckingham wasn't too excited about the idea of joining another band. Not only that, but she was able to make her academic dream a reality completely on her own accord. Nicks was unsure as well since Christine McVie was already playing with Fleetwood Mac alongside her husband, John. "I paid for my own college," she revealed in a chat with Eater. At the beginning, people said, "Does Christine want another girl in the band?" Nicks told Rolling Stone in 2019. "And I said, I hope she does. I paid to go to UCLA, probably why I went to UCLA and not USC. Either way, that's pretty darn impressive, especially for a first-generation student." However, at the time, De Laurentiis says that no one at home made a big deal of her accomplishment, despite how monumental it was. "I come from a large Italian family, they only care about boys," she continued. "Girls are supposed to get married and have children." That's something she attributes to the cultural norms of the time, which have arguably changed significantly in the decades since. When Giada De Laurentiis was in college, she met her partner Todd. While Giada De Laurentiis took her studies seriously in college, she still had time to socialize. "When she meets me, I hope she likes me." McVie did indeed like Stevie Nicks. Together, the ladies made a pact, said Nicks, that, "We will never be treated like second-class citizens. We will never be not allowed to hang out in a room full of intelligent, crazy rock and roll stars, because we're just as crazy and just as intelligent as they are."
It worked, and the band was thrilled with Stevie Nicks' songs. two of them, Rhiannon and Landslide, appeared on Fleetwood Mac's first album with Buckingham and Nicks, making the Billboard 200 list in 1976 with 3 hits in the top 20, according to ABC News Radio. Shattered relationships were the price of fame for Stevie Nicks as Fleetwood Mac skyrocketed to fame. Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks, along with Christine and John McVie, weren't doing so hot. That's how she wound up meeting and dating her eventual husband, clothing designer Todd Thompson. Nicks was already embittered about working as a waitress while Buckingham turned down $500 gigs at steakhouses in the old days. When we first met, I didn't have any money because I was in college, and he paid every time we went out to dinner, she shared in an interview with Redbook. She hoped for a better relationship with Fleetwood Mac, per Billboard. So I'd show my love for him by making a meal. If ever there was proof that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach, there it is. At first Thompson had a bit of a hard time fitting in with De Laurentiis' large, Italian family and would get the side eye from relatives for cutting his pasta with a fork and knife. Luckily, my husband is confident enough that he never took it personally, she continued. He'd laugh it off, and my family ended up adoring him. Ah. Giada De Laurentiis attended culinary school in Paris. Once Giada De Laurentiis had finished up at UCLA in 1996, she knew in her heart of hearts she wanted to go to culinary school. Despite her parents' misgivings about the idea, the star confessed to total food service. De Laurentiis packed her bags and went to Paris to attend the Cordon Bleu, the world-famous cooking school. I'm going to be honest, it was brutal, she dished. You and I have to sew this relationship back up, she told Buckingham. We have too much to lose here. We need to put our problems behind us. But life was now more complicated, and even the McVie's problems escalated when Christine had an affair with a lighting director in 1976. But she also became a mentor for Nicks as the group worked on their next album, Rumours. The West Australian Simon Collins, per Fleetwood Mac News, plucked the best songs and lyrics from the Rumours album as the obvious prelude to the impending romantic breakups. There was Buckingham's Second-Hand News and Never Going Back Again, Nicks' warning, Women, They Will Come and They Will Go in Dreams, and even Christine McVie's You Make Loving Fun about her affair. So as Rumours took off to become #1 on Billboard, and won a Grammy for Album of the Year, the players who only love you when they're playing looked elsewhere for love. The chefs threw pans and rolling pins, I had burns all up and down my arms, and it was intense, laborious work. She added that the experience shattered any notion she harbored that a career in the cooking industry would be easy in any way. Fortunately, De Laurentiis survived culinary school, despite the trials and tribulations that came with it, including being one of the only women in her class. Nicks even had an ill-fated affair with Mick Fleetwood. Stevie Nicks' voice takes a downward turn. Although the members of Fleetwood Mac did split up, everybody made a concerted effort to keep the band together. Going to Cordon Bleu taught me how to prove myself by not just talking the talk, but walking the walk, she added. Initially, Giada De Laurentiis didn't want to be on the Food Network after finishing culinary school. Giada De Laurentiis returned to the United States, spending several years working for several different high-profile chefs in some fairly menial positions, De Laurentiis told Eater. Unfortunately, biography says, touring night after night took its toll on Stevie Nicks' vocal cords. A July 1977 concert review by New York Times writer John Rockwell revealed Nicks had nodes on her vocal cords. Not only was her voice hoarse, but her mid-range notes were painfully shredded, to the point that a few concerts were cancelled. The sound of Nicks' voice on stage also was costing the band in the way of bad reviews. Stevie Nicks publicly addressed her issues in August of 1977, according to Stevie Nicks Info. The doctor has told me that my speaking voice is destroying my singing voice, she was quoted as saying, explaining that her speaking voice aggravated the nodules. Eventually, born out of the need to make money after being pressured by her family, De Laurentiis went into catering, which was a more lucrative hustle at the time. But it was her family connections that really put her on the map. After Food Network exec Bob Tuchman read an editorial De Laurentiis wrote about her family in Food and Wine, he asked her to put together an audition tape for the fledgling network, which she stalled on for quite some time. The songstress recuperated by refraining from talking, gargling, and taking face saunas as Fleetwood Mac took a break from its world tour. I just have to do the best I can do, Nicks said. But Rockwell had noticed something else, too. Nicks, he said, pushed her lackadaisical loopiness too far, and that her meanderings were more a cause for concern than for fascination. What Rockwell did not say outright was that Nicks was now doing a lot of drugs and drinking a lot of alcohol. Stevie Nicks' disastrous dating life. Stevie Nicks' newfound freedom included romancing the Eagles frontman, Don Henley, pictured with Nicks in 2002. "It took a year to convince me to put myself on tape," she explained to the publication. But when De Laurentiis did submit it, she knocked it out of the park, thanks to the help of her brother. "I had music, I had an open, I had it all. It was all choreographed," she explained. Thus, in 2003, Everyday Italian was born. Giada De Laurentiis lost her brother just as her career was getting off the ground. Just as Giada De Laurentiis' career as a celebrity chef was taking off with Everyday Italian airing regularly on Food Network, tragedy struck. In 2003, De Laurentiis' younger brother Dino died of melanoma, a form of skin cancer, at the age of 31. Naturally, De Laurentiis was devastated. The relationship began in the late 1970s, per Smooth Radio. Nicks' 1981 debut album, Bella Donna, featured Henley on one of the tracks, the ever-romantic Leather and Lace. But although it was rumored that Henley wanted to marry Nicks, the couple eventually broke up. "He was the person I turned to for everything, when something great happened in my life, when something bad happened," she told Entertainment Tonight. "I would talk to him 2 to 3 times per day." Because of her brother's untimely passing, De Laurentiis made it a priority to educate people about the importance of wearing sunscreen and checking your skin. "Those are the 2 most important things," she explained in a PSA via Entertainment Tonight. "Because had my brother checked his skin and checked his body, he would have seen that something wasn't right." De Laurentiis regularly pays tribute to her brother on Instagram, and remembers him on his birthday. Giada De Laurentiis became a full-fledged star despite the loss of her much-beloved brother. Giada De Laurentiis' career went full steam ahead. A decade or so later, in 1992, Nicks told Vox magazine via Tinseltown Mom that she had once been pregnant by Henley, as well as 3 other men. Nicks decided to terminate her pregnancies. "To give up 4 babies is to give up a lot that would be here now," she said. After Everyday Italian became super successful, spin-offs followed suit, according to her Food Network bio. "So that bothers me, a lot, and really breaks my heart." In 2009, Nicks elaborated further to the West Australian's Simon Collins via Fleetwood Mac News. "I chose purposely, my choice, to not be married or have children so I could follow being a true artist," she said. She also explained Henley's claim, per Billboard, that she named the unborn child Sarah and wrote her 1979 song of the same name, to the spirit of the child. "Not so," said Nicks. In 2007, Giada's Weekend Getaways debuted on the network, which filmed De Laurentiis at popular food destinations in the U.S. After that, Giada at Home started its wildly popular run in 2008, followed by Giada's Holiday Handbook, Giada Entertains, and Giada in Italy. You can also catch De Laurentiis on Food Network Star. Our girl certainly stays busy. De Laurentiis also became an author multiple times over, starting with the cookbook Everyday Italian, which featured recipes from her show of the same name. "Had I married Don and had that baby, and had she been a girl, I would have named her Sarah," she said. But the song, she said, was actually about Sarah Ricoeur, who later married Mick Fleetwood. A well-meant but messy marriage for Nicks. There is another memory haunting Stevie Nicks, her marriage to Kim Anderson, the widowed husband of her lifelong friend, Robin Snyder. In 1983, Nicks told VH1's Behind the Music via in her own words that Robin contracted leukemia and was given 3 months to live. That was followed by 8 additional cookbooks, which landed her on the New York Times bestseller list on multiple occasions. Worse yet, she was pregnant. De Laurentiis also published several books for children that explore her favorite cities around the world, as well as feature recipes for kids. There's no question, then, that De Laurentiis had become a bona fide celebrity. Giada De Laurentiis hadn't planned to become a mom. Clearly, Giada De Laurentiis had a lot on her plate insofar as her career was concerned. So it wasn't too surprising that she and her husband had mutually decided against having children. "But then Jade came along, and I was very afraid, and so was Todd," she confessed in an interview with Redbook.
"What would happen to this life we had created, where we'd just take off for Santa Barbara for the weekend?" The star and her husband welcomed their daughter when De Laurentiis was 37. Despite her initial concerns, and after taking things one day at a time, De Laurentiis came to see that fitting her daughter into her life wouldn't be especially difficult. In order to handle her grief, Nicks told The Guardian's Craig McLean, during her visits to the hospital she was so high on coke. "I've continued my life exactly as it was," she continued. "Jade knows her mother works and travels, and she travels with me. You can catch glimpses of De Laurentiis' daughter on her Instagram page, where Jade makes regular appearances. Giada De Laurentiis became the first woman to helm a restaurant on the Las Vegas Strip. Sexism is rampant in the American workforce, as noted by the New York Times, and the food industry is no different. Fortunately for Giada De Laurentiis, it hasn't stopped her from accomplishing her goals, no matter what they may be. "I'd drink half a bottle of brandy on the way there, 'cause I couldn't stand it. Her friend admonished her not to come back, until you're not high. And when Robin Snyder died, Nicks said, I went crazy. I just went insane. And so did her husband. The baby, Matthew, was born 2 days before Snyder died." In a heartfelt attempt to manage their grief and care for the child, Nicks suggested marriage to Anderson, according to Smooth Radio. "It's so funny because, for the longest time, I never saw myself as a female chef versus a male chef," she explained in a chat with Elle. "Everybody was furious," Nicks recalled. "I just saw myself like everybody else, just trying to make a living and trying to do my job really well." That determination helped De Laurentiis to become the first female chef to open a restaurant on the Las Vegas Strip, which she did in 2014. "I've said this over and over to many women in my business, you kind of have to learn the ropes," she continued. "It was a completely ridiculous thing. And it was just because I had this crazy, insane thought that Robin would want me to take care of Matthew." She came to her senses when she walked into the baby's room one day and found the child's cradle sitting still instead of rocking like usual. "Robin wants this to end now," she remembered thinking. She and Anderson divorced 3 months later, but Nicks remains in touch with Matthew. Life in the fast lane. Stevie Nicks drug use. Yes, Stevie Nicks spent most of the early 1980s as high as a kite. She tried to quit her cocaine habit as early as 1982, Stevie Nicks info says, but slipped while filming her epic video, Gypsy. She also began chain-smoking cigarettes, and in 1986, discovered that her cocaine usage had literally burned a hole in the septum of her nose, according to biography. "It's like a game of chess or Monopoly." Nicks' parents and friends finally intervened in the late 1980s. "You have to learn how to play the game." Apparently that's something that De Laurentiis does quite well. Giada De Laurentiis and her college sweetheart divorced. Although Giada De Laurentiis was married to her husband Todd Thompson for over a decade and had been in a relationship with him since she was 18, the couple ultimately got divorced. In December 2014, after being separated for nearly half a year, De Laurentiis announced on Facebook that she and Thompson were getting divorced. "I was very worried about her," Nicks' close friend Tom Petty told Rolling Stone magazine via The Fix. "Although our decision to separate comes with a great deal of sadness, our focus on the future and overwhelming desire for our family's happiness has given us the strength to move forward on separate, yet always connected paths," she wrote in a post. For a while, De Laurentiis understandably laid low. "If the phone did ring and they said, 'Stevie died,' I wouldn't have been surprised." Nicks checked into the Betty Ford Clinic in 1986. 3 songs came from the experience. "Welcome to the Room," "Sarah," and "When I See You Again," appeared on Fleetwood Mac's Tango in the Night album in 1987, and "I'm Doing the Best I Can," Escape from Berlin, appeared on Nicks' own The Other Side of the Mirror album in 1989. "I tried to stay under the radar to protect my family and my daughter, mostly," she confessed to E! News. By then, however, the singer had been prescribed Klonopin by her psychiatrist and was addicted to the drug. She entered rehab a final time in 1993. "I think that the pain was so raw for so long that I just felt like I couldn't even talk about it." Eventually De Laurentiis says she turned the corner, and was able to start dating again. Giada De Laurentiis' success may have surprised her grandfather. Giada De Laurentiis is truly a successful chef and businesswoman in every way.
From her shows to her books to her ever-enduring appeal, De Laurentiis has proven that she's a force to be reckoned with, which is something her grandfather finally acknowledged. "Over the years, I think he became quite proud, and maybe even a little shocked, at my success," she told Redbook. "My only advice to anybody who is watching me talk right now is to save your money," she told viewers on Oprah Winfrey's Master Class series in 2013, "because it's gonna cost you $50,000 to go to rehab. You have to understand that coming from a Neapolitan family, men head up the empire. Not anymore, thanks to you, Giada." De Laurentiis' grandfather questioned her capabilities, mainly because of the easygoing approach she took to cooking, the very same thing that made her so accessible to viewers. "You will have to go or you will die. Rock On, Gold Dust Woman. In 1990, Fleetwood Mac produced its first real flop, Behind the Mask. According to the Los Angeles Times, Nicks left the band in September to pursue her solo career full-time. Fleetwood Mac UK attributed her departure to an argument with Mick Fleetwood, who would not allow Nicks to use her own song, Silver Springs, on a solo project, Timespace. Upon leaving the band, Nicks compiled some of her other hits for Timespace instead, which was well received, per Amazon. I remember him once saying to me, "How can you tell people to open a jar of prepared pasta sauce?" she told the publication. Those were the kinds of debates we would have. Sadly, De Laurentiis' grandfather passed away in 2010 at the age of 91, according to The Guardian. Giada De Laurentiis is far from done with everything that Giada De Laurentiis has accomplished in her life. You may be tempted to think she's content to rest on her laurels. But that's just not in De Laurentiis' ambitious nature, as she says it's difficult for her to feel like she's done working. "I have a distinctive drive to keep accomplishing more, and I always hear my grandfather's voice in the back of my head telling me to keep going," she revealed in an interview with Total Food Service. Looking forward, you can expect De Laurentiis to champion wellness, as she's invested in making the world a better place one plate at a time. "I believe the very first thing you can do for yourself is eat healthy and balanced, and everything else will fall into place," she continued. What followed was a successful tour during 1991 and 1992. Nicks did reunite with Fleetwood Mac, briefly, in about 1992. Presidential nominee Bill Clinton decided to use the band's hit song, Don't Stop, for his successful campaign. But both Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham stayed on just long enough to perform a single concert at Clinton's inaugural ball in January of 1993 before resuming their solo acts. "One of my goals in life is to make sure I'm doing the best I can to take part in creating healthier lives for future generations. We can't wait to see what else she accomplishes. But I never wanted a solo career," Nicks told Rolling Stone in 2011. "I always wanted to be just in a band. But I just had so many songs." So although she supported her own solo career, Nicks did rejoin Fleetwood Mac once more in 1997 when the band put out their next album, The Dance. And although she still has her solo gig, Nicks also remains part of Fleetwood Mac. Stevie Nicks had image issues in 1998. Nicks told People magazine she remembered very clearly that day in 1986 when her plastic surgeon told her, "If you want your nose to remain on your face, stop using cocaine right now." Another told her one more snort could cause a brain hemorrhage. But her stints in rehab caused the petite singer's weight to go up to 175 pounds. Her weight was obvious at the Clinton performances, and at the end of her 1994 tour, Nicks decided, "I would never sing in front of people again. Singing is the love of my life, but I was ready to give it all up because I couldn't handle people talking about how fat I was." She also discovered she had Epstein-Barr virus, which explained why she was constantly tired. Unfortunately, Stevie Nicks' weight became the talk of the music world. University students Marceline and Carol L. Thompson even wrote a paper about the waning popularity of Nicks' albums during the early 1990s because of her heaviness. The women theorized that because female fans could no longer identify with the once fairy-like singer, and sadly, they listened to her music less. The decline in album sales was not lost on Stevie Nicks, who vowed not to go on stage ever again if I don't lose this weight. And she did, embarking on a high-protein, low-carb diet in 1995 to shed 30 pounds. A life of amazing achievements. So let's tally up Stevie Nicks' hard-earned accomplishments. Since 1977, according to the Grammys website, Nicks has earned 2 Grammys with Fleetwood Mac, has been nominated for a Grammy an amazing 14 times, and has 2 recordings in the Grammy Hall of Fame. She has yet to receive a Grammy for her solo work, but let's look at her other achievements. Bottle Rock cites an array of deserving honors. Since 1981, Belladonna has sold more than 5 million copies in the U.S. alone. That same year, Rolling Stone named the singer the reigning queen of rock and roll, as well as one of the 100 greatest singers of all time. Other of Nicks' albums, The Wild Heart, Rock a Little, and The Other Side of the Mirror, went platinum. Altogether, between her own albums and those with Fleetwood Mac, she has sold over 140 million records. And there is more. In 2006, says Anti-Music, the Stevie Nicks Soldiers Angel Foundation was formed to help soldiers heal through the gift of iPods loaded with music. Nicks founded the organization and wrote a song about it in 2011 after visiting wounded soldiers, per Song Facts. In 2015, B975 reported, Nicks given the Outstanding Achievement Award by the USO, pictured with USO officials and Mick Fleetwood, for her efforts. Stevie Nicks still remains a fighter. There is no doubt that Stevie Nicks is a fighter. In 2019, the rock icon made history yet again. She was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for the second time, the first being in 1998 as part of Fleetwood Mac. No other woman in music history has achieved such an honor. She was inducted by musician Harry Styles, whom Nicks told Rolling Stone is the son I never had. Indeed, the lady has a lot to be thankful for. She is rich in fans, rich in friends, and just plain rich. The richest estimates her net worth at a cool $75 million. Nicks also continues to tour, and her 24-karat gold The Concert was recently made into a film. The lady has few regrets, though one is that she never got to meet Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I wanted to hold her hand and give her a huge hug and thank her for all she had done for women, and for all she would continue to do, Nicks wrote on Facebook. She sufficed by honoring Ginsburg another way. She was a political rock star. As a two-time Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee, the first female to be inducted twice, compared to 22 men having been inducted twice, Stevie Nicks, induct Ruth Bader Ginsburg into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame of Life. Ginsburg would probably like that.